voxpopulinews.net. We have a special guest today, Miss Aynaz Anni Cyrus, more known as Annie Cyrus. She's a human rights activist, and she's also the producer of the Glazov Gang. Good morning, Miss Annie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm so happy that you're with us today. I've been following your Facebook page, and I've been also following the videos you produce, and they're all so fantastic and so informative.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for following our work. Appreciate that very much.
Awesome. Now, for our listeners who don't know who you are, I would love for you to go ahead and give them a good introduction about what you do with your activism for human rights, as well as production for the Glazov Gang.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, my name is Aynaz Anni Cyrus. I am a human rights activist focusing more on women's rights under Islam and Shari'a Law, and to be very more specific, women's under Islamic Republic of Iran. As I was born and raised in Iran, I spent the first 15 years of my life there, and I witnessed and experienced the agony and torture of being a woman under Islam in Iran. So when I find my freedom here, which I consider myself very lucky to be able to have the freedom, I decided to speak out and be a voice for those who cannot be heard, and also to warn my fellow Americans as Islam is coming to us here, so we can protect our freedom here as well. And as for the Glazov Gang, I have been producing the show for the last 4 years. It is hosted by Dr. Jamie Glazov, who is a very, very, very knowledgeable man when it comes to matter of jihad, Islam, and also all the tricks and wrongdoings of the leftist.
Totally understand. That is a very fascinating subject. Let me go back to your personal bio, because as you all know, we have spoken before, and you have two apostate women on the phone talking about Islam, all of its dangers, all of its threats, especially to the United States and our national security. And that's rare enough, but that both of us have escaped it and we're talking about it right now is very important. So you were born into Islam in Iran, but that does not actually make you a Muslim, right?
By heart, no. But by the Islamic rule of Iran, on the birth certificate, it does. But no, I never truly actually believed in what I was taught at a very early age. I would say age 9 is when I completely understood that this is not only it's not for me, it's also not a religion at all. It's more of an ideology than anything else.
Okay.
So I did not follow it. I did not believe it. I just, pretended to understand it and do it because I didn't want to be killed.
Okay, and just for our listeners who aren't aware, a lot of times you hear the leftists and other people who actually don't know anything about Islam talking about Islam is a peaceful religion, but you and I know different. I grew up in the Middle East, you grew up in Iran, and one of the things is it doesn't matter. There is no baptism in Islam. If you are born into Islam, you are considered a Muslim. So now that you have, technically, according to the Muslims, you have left the religion, you've become an apostate, it's actually very dangerous for you to be speaking with me right now.
Absolutely. It's by Quran, I am punishable by death.
Well, we both are. So I guess we're going to start our own club from now on. People that are punishable by death. So the first question that people are going to be asking is, if it actually is true that there is a threat on our lives, and on your life specifically right now, why are you speaking out?
Well, I would say the reason I do it is, to my knowledge, and I would hold my head up and say I am very knowledgeable on this subject. To my knowledge, if I don't, this country will lose its freedom, and my people here will have to leave the abuse and torture that I lived at some point in my life. So if what it takes for America to stay the great free country that is, for me to die, well, so be it. And the other reason for it is, I'm sure you are familiar with this answer, as you might feel the same, is I really prefer to live a short life, but live a free life. Because under Islam, there is no freedom whatsoever, especially for me as a woman.
Absolutely. I totally agree. That's something we definitely share in common. I lived until I was 16 or 17 years old under Islam, and every year that I live in freedom is a blessing, and it's an extra year that I didn't think I would live. And when I was living under Islam, I would have rather to die completely than to continue living that way. So I've already won as far as I can see. So this is all just bonus. Every day is just a bonus. So why don't you tell us a little bit more? I've never even visited Iran, but I've heard about the Shiite system, and even growing up as a Sunni, we looked at that regime as very, very harsh. Even as a Muslim, Sunni, Shia was very, very harsh to us. So why don't you give us a glimpse of what happened up until you were about, you said 15 years old, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
What are the horrors of Iran?
Well, I can say one main reason that even a Muslim Sunni country looks at Iran as one of the harshest one is because under Shia religion of Muslims, basically everything that a regime or a leader, which at the moment is Khamenei in Iran, it's not suitable to the benefit of the leader and also benefit of Sharia law, is punished by death. That's why the rating of executions and murders in Iran by the regime is the highest ever. And one other thing I was mentioning yesterday is that they are the master of manipulation. Outside of Iran, we all hear about one or two names, maybe a year or every 6 months, that was killed by regime. But in reality, being there and seeing it, I can tell you that the numbers are between 1 and 2 people a day at least.
So
just
what?
Think about how many.
That's absolutely crazy. What gets you killed in Iran? What can you do to get killed in Iran? Let's try and get through that list.
Okay. Number 1, being a non-Muslim.
Being a non-Muslim gets you killed.
If you're not a Muslim and you are not willing to convert to Islam, you won't even get a court date. It's by the Constitution and by the leader's order, you are punishable by death. No way around it. And you only get, by the way, this is very important to know, you get one chance. You get arrested for not being a Muslim, and it doesn't matter what other religion it is, because one of the manipulation that the government of Iran is doing is that they're telling other countries and other people that, oh, Christians are fine in Iran. No, they're not. Any religion, we have had Sunni Muslims killed in Iran for not converting to Shia.
Wow.
So it's not just a different religion. Even if you're not a Shia Muslim, you are punishable by death. You get one chance. Would you convert? No thanks. You're dead. You just wait until your day. And it's not a death row of years. No, it's between a week to a month until you're killed. Unless someone like Pastor Abedini, who his brave wife made a lot of noise. She tried to fight, so they are scared to kill him right now because there is too much evidence to prove they're killing Christians. Mm-hmm. But other than that, the people who don't have someone to fight for them, they won't last more than a month in a death row, and they be killed.
Okay.
At 5 a.m., public hanging is how it works in Iran.
So they make
They
examples
hang
out
you
of
at
people.
5 a.m.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's number one.
Okay.
And even if you go to prison, let's say a week later you say, listen, okay, I convert. They won't let you convert anymore because to them, you are using their own so-called Taqiyya. So you're telling them, okay, I'm going to convert, but you don't actually convert. You come out and continue your own practice, so they're not going to believe you.
So they think that you're practicing Taqiyya?
Taqiyya, exactly.
Okay, so Taqiyya, for our listeners who don't actually know what it is and aren't familiar with it, that is the part of Islam that liberals choose to turn a blind eye to. That is the part of Islam where a Muslim can actually pretend to be a relaxed, or non-Muslim. They can drink, they can have sexual relations outside of marriage, they can do drugs, they can eat pork, they can do whatever they want to pretend to be your friend until the day that they have enough power to come out and literally kill you. That's all it is.
Exactly.
So, being a non-Muslim gets you killed. Okay, well, people are going to say, then just be a Muslim. What else can get you killed?
Number two, and the highest number of executions in Iran right now. If you belong to, let me make sure I say this right, LGBT
Yep.
group. Am I saying it right?
Yep, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community.
Exactly.
So if you are a homosexual.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And that one is no way around it. Again, you won't get a court date. You won't get a chance to denounce it. You won't get a chance to go back to what they call a right way of living. You just get arrested. You get hung.
Wow. Okay. And
you see,
what else?
This is why Sharia in Iran is the harshest, because let's put it this way. In at least here in the United States, you're not guilty until proven guilty, right?
Absolutely.
In Iran, you are guilty until you're proven unguilty or not guilty.
Okay. So how does somebody so really, if you get charged with, and it sounds ridiculous to even say, but if you get charged with being a homosexual or being transgendered, then there's really no defense for you.
None.
How are you going to disprove that?
You can. That's what I'm saying. There is so much of injustice and so much of force of their own beliefs on people of Iran that somebody asked me, why are Iranians trying so hard to get out when there is no war going on in Iran? I'm like, you guys don't even know. Syria is a disaster right now, and we all know it's an open war going on and people are being killed.
Yes.
That, compared to what's happening inside Iran, is still heaven.
Oh, wow.
But the difference is that the Iranian regime, mullahs and ayatollahs, are such manipulators that nobody even knows what's happening in there. There are so many filtration of internet. Like, this is 2015, and my people, in order for them to come online on simple Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, they have to use 5 different anti-filter systems to get on. And if they get caught using them, they're going to be sentenced to 30 days jail and 70 lashes.
Oh,
just for being able to get on Facebook. Forget about what putting in there.
So if they put something in there that it goes completely against the regime, then they could possibly face execution for, say, treason?
Not possibly. For sure, they will face that.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
and
basically...
They will be right away labeled as American and Israeli spies.
So they will label them as an American or an Israeli spy for getting on Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It's just ridiculous to think of such a thing.
Exactly.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so what about being a woman in Iran? What about being a girl in Iran? Because at 15, you're really not a woman yet. Or by our standards, you're not a woman yet.
Well, but we are, because by Islam, when you turn 9 years old, you become a complete woman.
Okay, so at 9 years old, you were considered a woman. And
yes,
now you're facing a threat because you're an apostate, considered an apostate to them. Why did you leave Iran?
Why? Because I wanted to live life. And being in Iran, I counted as a half a person.
What do you mean? Because you're an apostate?
Again, no, because I'm a woman.
Okay.
And a woman coming from directly verses on Quran, walking all the way to Constitution of Islamic Republic of Iran, I am a woman, and that makes me half a person. So that takes away more than 2/3 of the human rights in Iran. Now, I'll tell you the details of it. As a woman, I cannot go to school unless my father or my husband sign a release and agreement. I cannot buy a property unless my husband or my father sign authorization. I cannot have a passport unless my father or my husband sign authorization. You see the basic rights that I don't have in Iran as a woman?
Absolutely. So you cannot do anything without your father or your husband agreeing to it and signing there's an actual document authorization?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, there's a form it's called Guardian. It's as you said, ridiculous, but interesting at the same time. I actually call it idiotic.
So it's, like you said, it's a pretty idiotic system. So you were a half a person, considered a half a person. You don't even have half of the human rights. You have 1/3 of the human rights. And you have to get permission and a written authorization from a male parent, so your dad or a husband, to do anything in life. So did you actually go to school in Iran?
I did, but not long. I was denied a higher education, and I might add that I was not just a normal student. I was accepted to a program that is in Iran for highly intelligent students that have a certain IQ and higher. And we had to take a specific test that was way above our education. And I actually have a record to this day in Iran for taking that test and passing it by 100% correct answers.
Oh, wow.
However, I was denied higher education. I got kicked out of school. And the reason for that was I could not provide a written authorization of my father to agree to send me to school.
Okay, that's pretty sad. So, is that why you left Iran, to pursue a better life and to get an education, or was there something else that happened to you?
This was a very small part of it. No, the main reason, or better yet, the moment I decided that was it, and I will not stay in that country any longer, was I was married off at an early age. And just to make sure everybody knows the area around it, is I left Iran when I was close to my 16th birthday. So everything that I share with you is when I was under 15.
Okay.
So I was married off to a complete psychopath. He used me as a punching bag.
Wow.
And a sex slave. And at some point, having had enough, I walked into a court trying to get a divorce. And the day I walked in, I had a dislocated shoulder. My face was completely messed up. And I'm not just referring to a couple of bruises, now completely almost disfigured face. And I walked in to get a divorce. And what I heard from a judge sitting there looking at me, which I considered myself a kid at that point, what I got was, well, young lady, you should obey your husband so he doesn't have to beat you.
Wow.
This was the protection offered to me.
The judge. Now, how old were you how old were you when you got married off? Just give me an approximate. I know we can't get specific.
I was about 13, 14.
Wow. So we young girls are still getting sent to their room in America at this point at 12, 13. And a judge that you went to for protection said, basically, it's your fault.
Pretty much, yes. You're not obeying your husband. And again, going back to Quran, there's a verse in there that says, if you even think your wife is about to start disobeying you, beat her. Absolutely. So if you obey your husband, he won't have to beat you.
Wow. That is absolutely fascinating, even to me. The reason that's fascinating to me is because in the Sunni countries in the Middle East that have been really relaxed with the more, how would I say it, friendly leaders like the King Hussein, the Assad, Mubarak in Egypt, they have really, I mean, in comparison to Iran, women were living in heaven under those people. Because if you're a Muslim woman and you walked into a judge there and you were beat, he would try to help you. I mean, he wouldn't go out of his way completely, but he would try to help you in one way or another, unless you're a Christian or a Jew, and at which point you have no rights. But, so that's crazy. What about your family? Have you tried appealing to your family?
That would be a very bad idea. I come from a very religious family.
Okay.
And I would for sure hear the same thing, or I might even be beaten for not obeying my husband and getting a divorce and bringing shame to the family and all that good history of, families wanting to, one of the main reasons that they marry you off so early is to make sure you don't bring shame to the family. So, no, I didn't have much of a support there, except she may rest in peace, my grandmother was the only one who ever tried to help me out.
Wow. Okay. So would you say that your story is a typical story, or do you think that is more on the extreme side?
Mine is on a mellow side.
Really?
Mine is on a complete mellow side, yes.
That is
because
ridiculous.
Because I was able to escape it. But I witnessed, let's not even talk about the ones I heard. I witnessed so many wives killed by their husband or father, beaten to death by their husband or father, or here's a case of, to me, disgrace, where one of the reasons you can add to the list of what could get you killed in Iran is adultery. I have witnessed a woman being killed in the name of adultery, never proven. But in Iran, a man doesn't need to prove if a woman committed adultery. All he needs to do is grab 3 of his buddies, 4 men, they go to court and say, well, we know she did it. And that's good enough for the court of law to grab her and kill her.
Wow. And that's basic Sharia law. I mean, I knew growing up in the Middle East also that was possible. At any moment, a judge, the police, your dad, even though we lived in a more relaxed situation, we knew that our lives hung in our father's hand or our husband's hand, because at any moment, if we upset him enough, he can use Sharia law against us. So it's always that thing that's over your head. It's constantly there. It never goes away. That's just fascinating. So how does it make you feel or what do you think about people that are getting upset about Sharia law actually taking place in the United States?
Well, it makes me happy. The more people trying to fight it and denouncing it, the more likely we can win this war. What do I think? I think they're smart. I think they're listening, and I think they're learning.
Very nice.
Because Sharia law has absolutely no room here. None whatsoever. It goes completely against our Constitution. It has nothing in common with the culture here. It just has no place here. Nothing. None. It can't exist.
I agree completely.
Forget about coexisting.
I agree completely. So you would agree with Dr. Ben Carson with the remarks that he made that a Muslim following Islamic doctrine cannot be a president of the United States. I mean, I don't understand why everybody's so upset.
I 100% stand with him on that comment. I actually commented on an article about his comment, and yes, it can happen. And exactly the reason we are in a disaster we are today is because of the man in our office is a Muslim.
Well, the thing is even if a Muslim says that they're not following Sharia law and they're not following that part, you and I know that because of Taqiyya, they could be completely lying. So you really never know what you're getting, do you?
No, but there are little ways here and there to know. Like in Obama's case, there are four things that I always mention that easily makes it for me to know that he does follow Islam and Sharia law. And I mean, number one, let's not forget his name,
right?
The full name. That gives it away. And again, the fact that he is absolutely the one and only president who does not have our beautiful American flag behind him when he's giving this speech. Rather, he has this, Islamic curtain, prayer thing behind him.
Yes.
And the fact that he refers to Quran as Holy Quran and never refers to Bible as Holy Bible, that also gives it away. His body language when he's talking about Muslims and Islam is completely respectful, and we both know a real Muslim will stand respectfully talking about Islam. All of those little details can give it away when it comes to me and you. That's why I keep saying on every video I make is people get educated, because these little things can tell them who's using Taqiyya on them and who's not. Because a Muslim can always use Taqiyya and deny being a Muslim, but under no circumstances, even on Taqiyya, they can never denounce Muhammad or Allah or Quran. So you want to know if they're using it? Get them to denounce Sharia law. If they do, then they're not using Taqiyya.
Absolutely.
But if they start saying, "Oh, I'm not following it, but I'm not going to disrespect it," then they're definitely using Taqiyya on you.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. Very good point. So we definitely have to watch out for Sharia law getting used in our courts. And you and I know that Sharia law does not have to be enforced by the justice system. When you have a community of Muslims, like we have a large community in Dearborn, Michigan, a large community in Patterson, New Jersey, a large community in Los Angeles, California, in Oregon, in Florida, huge communities. Once the community is together and once they hold power in that area and they're the majority, then they actually start to perform Sharia law, and you're not going to get any witnesses and nobody's going to talk because it's like a gang. And they're going to enforce it within their families and within their community, and before long you're going to see non-Muslims are not going to be able to enter those places. So it is a real threat. Islam, of course, as we know, is getting taught in the schools, in our education system. Kids are getting forced to go to mosques. They are getting taught that Islam is a religion of peace. They're getting taught that 9/11 happened because of some really bad guys. It's starting to not mention Islam in there. When I look at it, I see it as infiltration on the basic level. And this is one of the steps of jihad before it becomes the whole draw your sword and cut off heads. What do you think?
Absolutely. Here's one thing that I recently started mentioning because I realized most of non-Muslims or non-Middle Eastern, I would say, don't realize is, okay, Obama stands there and say, on one of the speech that got me really frustrated, believe it or not, for exactly 2.5 hours. I was sitting in my room rocking back and forth thinking, that's it, I got to get a gun and shoot myself. Islam is here to that extent.
Yeah.
And I'm referring to the one when he stand and said, let there be no doubt, Islam is part of America. Our people don't know what that means, but me and you, we know what that means.
Exactly.
That means war is on. We are either fighting hard or we're done. So on the same one, he mentions we have 1,200 mosques in the United States. Now, here's what our people need to know. By Islam and Sharia law, when a Muslim community wins a war in an area, the first symbol of victory is to build a mosque.
Absolutely.
So, my fellow Americans, 1,200 areas in United States has been taken over with Muslims, and that is why we have those mosques. They're not built there for them to do their prayer. No. Those are, every single one that goes up is a symbol of them taking over that specific area. So if you have a mosque in your area, that means you are living in a Sharia law area.
Absolutely. It is Sharia zone. And another thing is that Americans usually look at mosques as a place of worship, like a church, and that's not the truth. In non-Muslim countries, and even in Muslim countries, a mosque is a place where it can be turned into Sharia court. It's a court. It's a mobilization place for forces, for troops, for soldiers. It is also a place of gathering in general for the community to come in and decide on something. And when I say community, I mean men. And it's also a place of worship, but the place of worship is probably minimal on the list of important things that take place in a mosque. So mosques are extremely dangerous things that are in the United States right now. They're dangerous things all over the world.
Absolutely, 100%. And as far as them taking matters to their own hands, yes, we are witnessing every day in Europe, in Canada, in the United States, so many are getting away with rape and honor killing based on, it's part of their culture.
Absolutely. And the crazy thing is that nobody is listening. You see all of these feminist groups and these liberal groups here in the States upset and up in arms because somebody wouldn't bake a cake for a homosexual couple. And you wonder, why are they silent on the murder and the torture of homosexuals in Iran? Why are the feminists silent about the half a person that a woman is considered in Iran and in the rest of the Middle East and the Islamic world? Lashing, the beating, the brutality, the murder of women, homosexuals, anybody who goes against their religion. You would think that somebody who would get upset over baking a cake would be absolutely irate when it comes to making a deal with a country that does these brutal things. But why are they silent? I have no answer for that.
Well, I do, sweetheart.
Okay, what do you have for us?
Well, first of all, what it is a lot of people prefer to pretend they don't know, because if they do know, they have to stand up, risk their own lives, be labeled an Islamophobe, a racist, a this, a that. And we all know liberals or leftists are nothing but caring for their own image. They want to be the good guy. They want to be the nice guy. They want to be respectful, no matter the cost. And also, Iran, as we know, the regime is one of the richest regimes ever, and that's not mentioned. Our people are dying and starving, but the regime has a lot of money. And again, leftists is all about money and power. So you give them enough money, they will back you up no matter what you're doing. Absolutely. That's exactly why I walk around and say Obama is nothing but a disgrace to human society. That deal, as you know, I started a petition on that deal. Yes. I will fight to my dying breath to expose this man on what is he doing. A lot of people don't know what that deal exactly means. It's giving so much power to a man, and I'm referring to our leader in Iran, Khamenei. He stood on a speech publicly, and I said, I want the enemy, and I refer to Israel and United States, to know that I am holding 72 million That was back then. Now we're close to 78 million. 72 million hostages on my hands. This leader is referring to his own people as hostages, and you're giving him such a deal? You're giving him the ultimate power? You're removing the sanction? You think that money is going to go to my people? No, it's not going to go to my people. They're going to keep it starving. They're going to keep killing each other over $1.
That is, I absolutely agree with you. So we had a president, President Carter, who removed the Shah of Iran, which was the worst thing that could ever happen to the Middle East. Now we have President Obama who removed, and I say removed because they were a major force in the removal of the presidents here in this so-called Arab Spring, which has been nothing but a bloodbath and an extermination operation of the Christians and the Jews and the Yazidis in the Middle East. Of course, Iran is spreading right now. The threat to Israel is crazy. Where can we go to get some information? I know you're a producer on the program, and you have your own show that you do with videos, but what can the average American do? How can we help?
I would say always and always, number one, get your hands on a Quran. If you don't want to go get the actual book, go to Quran.com. Look for the translation of Sahih International. And the reason I say look for that, and Sahih is spelled Sahih International. That is the closest and simplest and the most correct translation of Quran, as far as I know. And I have read over 16 translations. This one would be the best to use. Read the Quran. I know it might take time, but trust me, it's worth putting that time. Read Quran, get familiar with it. And the reason is that will help you spot a Muslim, that will help you spot a Taqiyya, that will help you not to get tricked into converting, because today Islam is the fastest growing religion. And that is upsetting. That is scary. Read the Quran on your own and realize what you're dealing with. Read it to your kids. Whatever they're teaching your kids, when they come home, you read a verse of Quran to them. Let them know what the real meaning is. Don't let them get brainwashed.
Absolutely. Children are so important right now with their education. You and I know that, it really hit home with me when you said we were talking about the Obama speech and how much it upset you and made you angry, because I actually had a lot of health problems starting with stress because of the CARE's new campaign of jihad is an act of bettering yourself and it's not an act of violence. That absolutely blew me out of the water. I was so scared because you and I know that if the United States falls, we have nowhere else to go. We cannot.
Absolutely.
You and I are huge patriots. We love our country so much. And this is our country. And when people ask me what my nationality is, I say American. And then they turn around and ask me again, but where are you from? I am American. I don't relate to anybody else. By heritage, I'm Hebrew. But that's my race. My nationality is I'm American. I'm passionate about my country because I have seen the darkness. I have seen the other end and I know what it looks like. And when I see it trying to come in and take over the last standing land of freedom, it scares me to death.
I'm with you on that. Absolutely. 100%.
Great. Okay, tell me a little bit more about the show that you do.
Well, my own program is called The Unknown, and they're very, very short clips because I do realize a lot of times people lose interest after 6 minutes, so I keep them between 4 to 8 minutes, and I do share my own personal life back in Iran. I talk about anything that happened to me, and I relate them to the law, and I relate the Constitution to the Quran on my episodes, some of the episodes, to make it easier for everyone to understand why an Islamic country is very dangerous, because it comes from Quran, and that would also help them why Quran is not as peaceful as they think it is. I also on aside the unknown, which is just the program that I talk on my own, I also make question and answer videos that I have everyone come to my Facebook page or my Twitter. They can send questions that they have either regarding Islam, Quran, or Islamic governments, more specifically Islamic Republic of Iran. I let them send questions and I make videos answering those questions to my best knowledge. So basically the purpose of this whole program and videos are to educate and educate and educate and educate. Because again, I go back to how important it is for us to be completely educated.
Perfect. So first is education. Second is beware, have awareness in your community of what's going on. Know that nothing is innocent when it comes from Islam. Islam cannot assimilate with any culture. They cannot and will not do it. But if you're looking for information, Miss Annie Cyrus is available for any questions. Like she said, she does do the videos with the Q&As. You can go to jamieglassoff.com. We're going to have a link right here under the podcast that you can click on. You can also go to their Facebook page. You can go to Aynaz Anni Cyrus's Facebook page and ask her personally questions. She is dedicated to answering those. I know that because I've asked her questions myself. And they actually have a new sponsor, don't you, Miss Annie?
Yes, we are. We are actually very excited that we just got a new sponsor. Before I get into that, one more link that we might want to add is they can always look up Live Up to Freedom, either on Facebook or the website liveuptofreedom.com. They can also get a lot of writing articles that I put in there, which are informative about the Constitution of Iran and laws and punishments in Iran. Also, my own stories are in that page. And also, they can send questions through the Facebook page of Live Up to Freedom. And the new sponsor is for the Live Up to Freedom organization that we recently started. They are called modaitaly.com, MODA Italy.com, and they are helping us. They're helping our followers to help us. And how it works is that you can go to modaitaly.com, and if you like something, you can purchase it. Use a code The Unknown, which is the name of my program, and get 10% off your purchase. And when you finish your purchase, they will give us 7% of your shopping. So you can help us while saving some money on your shopping.
That is awesome. That is so wonderful. Miss Ines, I can actually talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but I know you have a very busy day, and we will definitely love to have you again on our podcast and keep educating people. We really appreciate what you're doing, not just as a news site, but as American patriots who do have an actual concern for our country and are willing to fight. God bless you and have a great day.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I really appreciate you giving me your time, and I look forward to talking to you again.